it is Betty, and today I'm going to be giving you guys the scoop of what you need to know if you are traveling during this pandemic, what the airlines are doing, what you should know before you go, and much more. So stay tuned because we're about to get started. So before we even get to the place, here's some things that you should know about the airlines and what they're doing to take precaution. So as you guys know, airline companies right now are having a financial struggle just like most of the world. So they're really trying to do the most that they can to keep things sanitized and everything safe. I know every airline has their own protocols. Personally, I flew with JetBlue, so I'm going to be telling you about my experience. But I know that most companies are all doing this because none of them are trying to lose more money than they already have. So what they're doing is not having people sit side by side. So what they're doing is leaving one seat vacant. So if there are 3 seats to each side of the aisle, right? They'll keep the middle one empty. And now they're allowing groups to travel together, to all travel together in the same row. But if you are going alone, or if you guys bought tickets separately or anything like that, then the middle seat is going to be open, which is, kind of clutch because now you're not sitting right next to a sweaty person right beside you, you know what I mean? You have a little more room. So that, I found that was great. They sanitize everything, which they should have been doing, but they just kept making it clear everything is sanitized before and after you guys get into the plane. And also, masks are being worn, obviously, throughout the entire airport and throughout the entire plane ride. So if you are going somewhere far, just know you're going to have your mask on the entire time. In the middle of our flight, the pilot reminded us, hey, just to make sure, you guys need to be wearing your mask at all times. So just know that everyone's staying protected in that sense. Another thing that they did was, you know how usually they hand you snacks depending on how long your flight is? What they did is they already put all the snacks, all the water bottles, the napkins, everything that they're going to give you in a plastic bag. So they're limiting the amount of contact that you have with them. So instead of them getting each individual thing and handing it over to you, they just hand over a plastic bag to someone with gloves. So that way, minimizing contact. Not content, I'm such a marketer. So I just told you guys about the airlines and how the plane's like. Another thing you should know about the airport, at least this was my experience. Don't think that it might be the same for wherever you are. But it seems like there were a lot less people. There was practically no line to go through security. That was so easy. Like if I had been late for my flight, I would have easily made it because there was no one there. But my cousin came from Maryland here a few weeks ago, and she said that it was pretty packed. So I think that varies depending on where you are. But I will assume it's a bit better than how it usually is. Another thing is that when I traveled, they showed us kind of their ventilation system and their airways in the screening that they used. So just know they're really scared of us thinking that they're not safe. So they're kind of showing us all the protocols that they're using, how they keep the planes ventilated and secure for all of us. So as I told you guys, I went to Puerto Rico, and I went because it was my brother's 30th birthday. And also because there was a bug in the system earlier on when Corona had just started, and flights to Puerto Rico were $22 year round. I could buy for any day, anytime, and it was all $20. So we were like, we have to go. So that's why we bought it and that's why we went. Normally we probably wouldn't be traveling during this time. If you guys do want to travel, I would suggest staying in your country just because you don't know what's going on. One thing that I want to make very clear is that clearly the whole world's been seeing it, right? We've been having these ups and downs where we're like, oh, we're safe, we're great. Oh my gosh, we're panicking. Oh wait, no, things are getting better. And then down. So we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going to happen. So if you're going to travel, I would suggest traveling in the country because you do not want to be stuck outside. And especially if you live in the US, or I'm sure all the other countries as well. And if you are not a US citizen, I would highly suggest you not leaving just because the rules are being changed all the time, and depending on what country you're going to, certain countries are on the no-fly list, or people need to be quarantined for 14 days before coming in, so that's definitely a no-no. But also things are changing, so you don't want to go somewhere. It's not even about, okay, just kidding. It's totally about safety. But if you're gonna spend money on a trip and you're gonna do this whole shabam, right? You kind of want to go to someplace where you can enjoy yourself. Also, go somewhere tropical. If you're thinking of traveling right now, I highly suggest you go someplace that is tropical. There is nature and there's so many things to do in that aspect of like adventure, because a lot of places are closed. Even if you're able to get tickets, and even if you're able to book everything and have everything set up, you might go to the city and a lot of things are closed, or they have curfews, or you don't know how it's going to be like, right? Like, even if you're researching right now, by the time you get there, you don't know if things are going to have changed, if their cases are going to have spikes. So if you're going somewhere tropical, you know you're guaranteed to have fun. So we went to Puerto Rico. They had curfews at 10 p.m. Everything done at 10 p.m. Like, you needed to be home. So there was no nightlife for us that entire trip, which was fine. We were with family, but it was great the fact that Puerto Rico has so many things to do, so many beaches, that we were able to fill up our entire, I think we went for 5 days, like our entire schedule was like, it was jam-packed with things to do, because there were so many beautiful beaches to see and so many places to go. If we went to a place, if Puerto Rico for some reason had no natural resources, no beautiful places, it would have been tough for us to find things to do, because Old San Juan, for example, a place that's usually packed with tourists and full, there weren't many people there. A lot of the restaurants, bars, shops closed. So we wouldn't have been able to enjoy it to the full extent. But a pro is, to the beaches we went and the places we went, there weren't that many people. So we really got to enjoy. We really got to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't crowded, and that helps with COVID, obviously, because then you're not surrounded by all these people. You kind of get a more private sense to it. And it's funny because depending on where you're going, it might actually be safer than where you are. Like, PR has a lot less cases than Massachusetts does. And along with that, every single place we went to, restaurants, souvenir shops, like anywhere in that sense, they checked our temperature and gave us hand sanitizer. So wherever place you're traveling to, they have their own protocols and how they do things. And it might actually be safer. What's scary, and I think a lot of people get turned off by it, well, obviously you don't want to, it's not the best time to be traveling, but if you are, like, I think the scariest part is going through the airport and is having to fly in a place where, you know, you can't really leave and it's everyone there. So what I did is I went with clothes that was for the airplane ride, clothes that are comfy, clothes that are warm, shoes. And what I did is, as soon as I got to our Airbnb, I took off all those clothes, I took a shower. You want to do that right away. And I put all of those clothes separate, and those are the same clothes I went back with. So that's not clothes that I wanted to use again. That's not clothes I wanted to use for the day. Like, you don't know what germs and what's going to go on you. And now I feel like we're all turning into germaphobes. So you want to stay like as protected as you can, because like I said, the scariest part can actually be in the airport, because depending on where you're going, it might actually be safer than where you currently are. So these are my tips if you want to stay safe during this crazy pandemic while traveling, and I hope you guys have an amazing time wherever you're going, and make sure to stay safe. Love you guys.